Boa Tov, Bagu Tevoch. Tonight, I want to tell story number 56 of the Shivchei of Shem Tov, praises of the Baal Shem Tov, the closest historically we can get, or chronologically, to the actual life of the Baal Shem Tov. The title of story 56 is the Baal Shem Tov sees in the upper spiritual worlds the passing away, the petira of Rav Elazar, the head of the Beis Din of Amsterdam. This Rav Elazar Rokeach was a big sage, a Talmid Chacham, born in the city of Brody, where the Baal Shem Tov spent part of his early times, and where the brother-in-law of the Baal Shem Tov was lived and worked as a Rav for quite a while. This Rav Elazar Rokeach went to be Rav of the city of Amsterdam in Holland, and later in his life went to live in the land of Israel, where he passed away. And here comes the story of the Baal Shem Tov. There are three parts to the story. There is how we get to the story, always the introduction, who he heard from. There is the first part, in which the Baal Shem Tov is going to have a discussion with Rav Elazar, and later what happens when the son of Rav Yaakov Yosef of Polnoy comes from the land of Israel and tells about Rav Elazar of Amsterdam. So the story says, Shamati merav Yoel Magid Mishalem de Keilas Nemerov. So, what's the first source for the story? The author of the book hears this from Rav Yoel, the Magid Misharim, this Musar preacher. It's not from the Musar movement, but is as Musar. It's the moralist preacher of the community of Nemerov, who used to be for quite a long time by Rav Yaakov Yosef of the community of Polnoy. Rav Yaakov Yosef, who mentioned before, very, very close, one of the greatest Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov, the author of the Toldos Yaakov Yosef, who served as Rav in the communities of Rashkov and Shargorod, and in the community of Nemerov, three places. So, Rav Yoel says, Shamati mimeno, he heard from Rav Yaakov Yosef, Shpamechas Shabbos, that once the Baal Shem Tov came to do Shabbos in the community of Shargorod, came to observe the Shabbat in the community of Shargorod, and when Shabbat finished, after Havdalah, at the table, they gathered with the Baal Shem Tov, and he would tell them the things he had seen. And when you say sin, again explains, he was able to see in the upper worlds, in the spiritual realms. So the Baal Shem Tov said that he saw that Rav Elazar, the Beis Din of Amsterdam, had passed away. I found in some texts they mention him as Rav Elazar Rokeach, and his descendants still wear that last name, including the Belzer Rebbe. Anyway, I'm not going to go deep into who he was, but the Baal Shem Tov, this Motzei Shabbos in Shargorod, tells the community, and Rabbi Yaakov Yosef hears that he saw that Rabbi Elazar Rokeach, Rav of Amsterdam, who is in the land of Israel, has passed away. Now, a conversation that in this Shabbos, in the higher spiritual realms, the Baal Shem Tov has with this Rav Elazar Rokeach. He hears that Rav Elazar Rokeach tells the Baal Shem Tov that he passed away in Shabbos. This past the Shabbos of the week before, when they read the Parasha of Bereshis, the first Parasha of the Torah. So the Baal Shem Tov asked Rav Elazar, why did you pass away this Shabbos? So Rav Elazar says to the Baal Shem Tov, two people from Poland, here in Eretz Israel, came and mocked me scorned me during Simchat Torah. Now, as Rabbi Yoel Nemerov is telling this story to the author of the book, he says, I don't want to tell you the names. It's not, I don't want to say Lashon Hara of who they were. And these two men, back to Shem Tov telling the story, said this. This is what Rabbi Shem Tov says that Elazar said, right? Here in Eretz Israel, you are a Nasi, you are a big leader in the community, but in the lands of Poland, you wouldn't be the Rav of the tailors, meaning you would be very low, you would be a commoner over there. So this terribly caused a negative impression in this Rav Elazar, who felt that he was going to die, like they have diminished his Torah. But he saw that there would be a nekama coming from above, a punishment from Shamayim, Dever and Cherev. There would be a plague and there would be the sword coming upon them. Rachaman al-Islam, God forbid. So the Baal Shem Tov asked him, what are you going to do? What about your wife, the Rabbanit, the Rebbetzin? So the Baal Shem Tov said, I will take her from the Rabbi Elazar said, Baal Shem Tov, I will take her from there. And he did not ask, the Baal Shem Tov didn't ask, what does that mean? Does that mean that he will take her from her life or from the city, from the place where they were? Later that year, second part of the story, the son of Rav Yaakov Yosef of Polnoi came from Eretz Israel. Yaakov Yosef asked his son, how is Rav Elazar, the Rav of Amsterdam, how is he doing? So the son answers, he already passed away. So did he pass away in Shabbos Bereshis? And the son says, yes. So the son now asks to Rav Elazar, how do you know? I am the first person who came from Eretz Israel to bring this news. So how do you know when he passed away? So Rav Elazar answers that the Shabbos of Parshas Noach, 1 week later, the Baal Shem Tov told us. And the son of Yaakov Yosef was very surprised. And then Rabbi Yaakov Yosef asked him, to his son, what about the Rebbetzin, his wife? So the son said that this Avram Sverdlik of Yerushalayim took her to Yerushalayim, and the two men that had scorned Rav Elazar were weakened by the plague. They were ill by the plague, and the people of the city of Yerushalayim asked them to stay out of the city, out of the walls of the city, so that they would not pass the contagion and to others, to avoid the spreading. And when they were outside of the city, sleeping, the marauding bandits among the Ishmael and the Arabs came and killed them. So that was what Rabbi Elazar had seen from above. The punishment would come from above. And so, a very interesting, deep story about both the greatness of Rabbi Elazar of Amsterdam and the Baal Shem Tov, able to communicate with him and tell us this whole story in a way that we could only confirm later. He could see things that were far away and up in the higher realms in a way that we can hardly understand today, other than that he could see the light of creation, or Yimei Bereshis, as the Baal Shem Tov is known. Thus he knew what was going on in all those places. Shavua Tov, a good Tevach. Don't forget to give me a like, share, and subscribe.